Well, another season has ended in Formula One. Another season has ended. A very exciting season as well. Yes, I know Max Verstappen in the end won it fairly comfortably, but we had 7 different race winners. We still had a lot of fun, and actually, you know what? There was a lot of races where I very much enjoyed the races that went on. But how about the future? What sort of feeling should we be having for the future? Is it one of excitement or is it one of fear? Well, sort of a bit of both. Yes, there is, like I say, there is the excitement, but there's also a little bit of intrepidation as to what's going on in terms of that, and it depends where you are looking. If you're looking in terms of on the track, there is a lot to be excited for. Huge amount to be excited for. The new regulations aren't coming until 2026, but already next year is shaping up to be a very interesting season. Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren have turned out to sort of be the top three by the end of this season. I know Max Verstappen did incredibly well, and I actually think it is one of his best championships. But next year, potentially a 3-team fight for the championship lead. Exciting. We've got the situation where all of a sudden, one of the best driver pairings in terms of raceability and racecraft in Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, they're together. So now Ferrari has an elite driver pairing. McLaren in Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, which we've seen, has an elite driver pairing. And if you were to look at Mercedes, well, this also has another little hint as to why it could be an exciting season. Because even if it was a Red Bull Mercedes battle, as we've seen in the last few races of this season, there's a bit of beef going on between Max Verstappen, George Russell, Mercedes, and Red Bull. Toto and Christian Horner can't help themselves, can they? Just by battling each other. But then going into Mercedes, again, we've got hints of something interesting going on. The amount of junior drivers that are going to be having their debut seasons next year. Kimi Antonelli at Mercedes. Jack Doohan at Alpine. I know he did a race at the end of the season, but it's going to be his debut season next year. Liam Lawson, potentially with a full-time seat at RP. Gabriel Bartoletto at Sauber. Ollie Behrman, again, did a couple of really decent races. He's going to be at Haas. Esteban Ocon's going to be at Haas. Nico Hulkenberg is going to be at Sauber, ready for the Audi projects. Then you've got Williams and Carlos Sainz. Is Williams going to be the next team to challenge the top? You got the situation with Adrian Newey at Aston Martin. Is Aston Martin going to do what they did last year and challenge for the top? And all of this in preparation, as we mentioned in the previous video, for what's happening with Cadillac and GM for 2026. So we're going to have another team on the grid. More drama, more seats to fight for. Oh, on track. It is hugely exciting. We've got a lot to look forward to. So why did I mention about intrepidation and fear and anxiety for the future of Formula One? Well, this is where it's going to start getting political, because ultimately the politics of Formula One is looking sketchy. If you were to have a look at the news in Formula One, the big news that's been happening has been, yes, the everything in terms of the drivers for next year. Fantastic. The news has also been about the fact that Eddie Jordan has revealed he's got cancer, and underrated person. I love Eddie Jordan, and I just hope he has a satisfying life, and he is able to enjoy life despite his circumstances. But the biggest news that is going on right now is at the FIA. There are changes going on at the FIA. Amidst controversies, the FIA have pushed through changes that basically those at the top can't be challenged. That any ethics complaints will be handled by the FIA president or the Senate. And that's a problem because most of the ethics complaints are against the FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. And it feels weird. Something feels off. I know I'm not alone in the F1 fan base in thinking something is off right now. And ultimately, Ben Sulayem has not done well as FIA president. Have a think about this, right? When Ben Sulayem came in 2022, we'd just come off the end of an incredible season where drivers are doing incredibly well. And the biggest problem was with the direction of races, with dodgy decisions when it came to safety of races. But they focused on driver behaviour. That was never a problem. Was never a problem. Focused on the drivers wearing jewellery, which was a big problem for Lewis Hamilton with a nose stud. It felt targeted because there was only one driver that was really wearing jewellery, and it wasn't a problem. And it was a 7-time world champion, so it can't have been a problem before, right? There were investigations into the wolves in Toto and Susie. The fact that Susie is in charge of the F1 Academy, and there were accusations that something was going wrong. Accusations that were unfounded and accusations that felt targeted. Susie Wolff, in particular, was furious about it. If you were to have a look at social media, I don't know if she's deleted the tweets. She was fuming. In fact, I think she ended up doing an ethics complaint against Ben Sulayem for it, I think. But there was a lot of problems that were going on in that side of things, and it all felt unusual. Even the decisions that were made in terms of the cost cap and the spending there, right? The thing that was being pushed through to make it fair, and the teams that breached it seem to have got off lightly. And then there's the more recent stuff, the swearing. Now, look, I have been known to swear. I'm not keen on swearing, but we're human, right? And you're expecting drivers who are hyped up on emotion and adrenaline not to swear, and you're going to penalise them, you're going to fine them, you're going to for swearing in news conferences. Seems odd. You're going to say that we're not rappers? That's a weird term to use about F1 drivers. And then you got the big one. Ben Sulayem himself, they're saying that his election to presidency feels off. I'm not going to say rigged, I'm not going to say it's illegal, but it felt off. And the thing is that I sort of feel sorry for Ben Sulayem. I'm gonna put it in the nicest way possible way. I don't think he realised just how big of a job the FIA president is. Like, this is a big change from being in charge of rallying, of being in charge of Middle Eastern driving, which is going to have some merit. But it's a huge different landscape looking after the FIA. Because looking after the FIA is focusing on the big sports. IndyCar, F1, NASCAR, I believe, as well. All the big sports, the World Rally Championship. Do you know what happens in there? Scandals, dodgy decisions, teams making the most advantage, teams going at each other like non-stop. It is a political thing, hence why FIA president. And in my thing in Ben Sulayem's defence is he has got no experience of this sort of things, and so I feel sorry for him in that respect, because I think he's bitten off more than he can chew. And that's why I'm worried for the F1, because you are looking after the world motorsport, the world of motorsport, and F1's the big one, but a lot of things are going to potentially be affected by this. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to touch on two things on this. Because in sport or any side of things, if you say somebody should move away from the position, someone should be sacked, someone should be let go, the question is always, who would you replace them with? Who would you replace them with? So let's say, and I do think that this is a job too big for Ben Sulayem. So I am saying that he should step down. He should go. So who am I replacing him with? I've got two candidates. And both of these candidates know the game. And we're going to explain myself in this before I reveal the names. Because in terms of the sort of the focus, in terms of the when has Formula One been at its best? F1 was in a really good health in 2021. Yes, we had Abu Dhabi 2021. That was a blip. But it was in good health. Who was in charge of it? Jean Todt. Who's Jean Todt? Someone that was in charge of Ferrari in Formula One. Who knows the politics, knows what teams do, knows what teams try, knows the in and out of it, knows about the family but sort of backstabby way that the F1 paddock is like, and knows that if you can handle the F1 paddock, you can handle any motorsport paddock, because F1 is motorsport at its best and its worst. It's at its cleanest and its dodgiest, right? This is the same paddock that, sort of 50, 60 years ago would lend their engines out to teams that were struggling financially, and also the same paddock that in 2008 was 2007 was overseeing Spygate, right? Best and the worst. Teams where, look at McLaren and Ferrari as a really good example. This year, McLaren and Ferrari, like a family, like a happy family all together. You saw the end of it. They were all hugging each other and everything like that. They were at each other's throats in 2007 and 8. Completely different, right? Formula One at its best, Formula One at its worst. So you need a team principal that can handle the F1 paddock to be an FIA president, or at least somebody in that situation. So here are my two candidates. The first one's one that's been mentioned on Twitter a bit, is Sebastian Vettel. Now, Sebastian Vettel was, talking when he retired about the future of motorsport. That's what he wanted to focus on, and in terms of the focusing on environmental issues and everything like that, and that really is a good part of why I think he'd be a good option. But the other reason is there was a video that went round, right? And this is in regards to the swearing that happened, and at a press conference. And by the way, I want to give you some context to this, right? Verstappen and Hamilton were title rivals. Any opportunity they could have had to have a go at each other, they would have taken advantage of that, wouldn't they? So, amongst all that sort of emotion, in a press conference where those two are sitting next to each other, one of the journalists asked a question of Hamilton, and asked why he swore during the race, and basically called one of the fellow drivers an abusive word. Right now, put yourself in Max Verstappen, in Sebastian Vettel's seat. Like I say, title rival next to you. He's being asked an uncomfortable question. Could mess his race up. You've got an advantage potentially for this race or the next race, right? Let him answer it. Let him squirm. No, that wasn't what Sebastian Vettel did. Sebastian Vettel jumped in and basically said, "Can I answer that? We are running on adrenaline. If I punched you in the face, would you go, 'Oh, Sebastian, that's not very nice'? No, you'd swear at me." And Lewis Hamilton reacted to an emotional thing, right? Why did Sebastian do that? Because he saw the bigger picture. This didn't just affect Lewis Hamilton, this affected every single driver. That is something that you can't scrutinise. And that's why I think he'd be a good option. But my second option is one that I'm surprised people haven't mentioned this before. Now, I mentioned Spygate. Alongside Jean Todt, this guy was part of the Spygate saga in 2007. Why do I say 2008? I don't know. He is also someone who is self-claimed to have OCD. Very meticulous to detail, knows his stuff, wants perfection, wants everything to be running just right. He has been in charge of a top team. He knows how to do the political landscape. During the most tense times, he was dealing with a driver rivalry in his own team twice. Once in the 90s, once in the 2000s. And he had to pick his words carefully. And for the most part, he did really well. Who am I talking about? Former McLaren boss, Ron Dennis. Just have a think about what F1 would be like, what the FIA would be like if Ron Dennis was in charge. He would understand the political landscape. The team principals that would sort of come to him and complain to him and be like, "Oh, come on, I know the game. You don't need to try, right?" He would know about the politics, the good and the bad, and he could apply that to everywhere else, to IndyCar, where McLaren are at the moment, to NASCAR, to Le Mans, to the endurance racing series. He could apply it to the hell whole lot. He would ensure there's consistency. That guy loves the rules. Absolutely loves the rules. Loves to play by the rules. I genuinely think that Ron Dennis would be the perfect person to look after FIA for the next 2 years. So those would be my two candidates. So we're back to the question at the start, aren't we, guys? Should we be excited or anxious for Formula One? Well, we should still be excited. All the stuff that's happening on in the background is stuff that we've been through before. There were controversies in the FIA in the 70s and the 80s, and it still survived. There were controversies in the early 2000s. Think about what happened with Indianapolis 2005. We don't like to think about it, but that was huge controversial situations where the FIA did not look good. But still, we survived. And then Jean Todt came in, and we had the glory years of F1. The safest, but the most entertaining. No matter how bad things are right now, it is still a damn sight better than it was in the 60s and the 70s, where driver safety was perilous. It's still much better than we were back then when, we really didn't give a damn about the type of tracks that they were on. They're the safest tracks that they are now. We're in a situation where we've got countries bidding to be the next races. Rwanda, South Africa, is two examples. We've actually got more countries wanting to put races forward than we've got spots on the calendar right now. F1 and FIA is in high demand. There's literally one person that is messing up. Now, granted, that person's a big person in F1, but still, we still got hope. And we can enjoy the action. All the politics that happen. This is the thing about politics. As well as being divisive, it's also slow. It takes a while for politics to take effect, good or bad, and for it to be settled out. But eventually, it will settle out. And we'll see the future. So, you see the news about F1 politics and the FIA stuff and everything like that? They happen in the background. There's enough people being angry about it. Let them be angry about it. For now, we've got a heck of a few seasons ahead. The last season before the regulation changes in 2026 is going to be a banger. And we all know what happens when the regulations adjust. It's bizarre what happens afterwards. We got some fun coming up next, and I know that we're gonna still enjoy the heck out of F1 because goodness me, it is in rude health. So, guys, another season wraps up, and I'm looking forward to spending time with you as we start reflecting on the 2025 races. I think it's something like 95 days away or something like that. Guys, I will see you then. Take care.